Imagine you are living 40,000 years ago. The world is very dark at night. The only sounds you hear are the wind in the trees and the animals in the distance. In a small cave, a group of humans is sitting together. One person picks up a dry bone from a bird. They have carved small holes into it. When they blow air into the bone, a beautiful, high sound fills the cave. This is the first flute. It is one of the oldest musical instruments in the world. Think about that for a moment. Even in the hardest times of human history, we wanted to create beauty. We wanted to make sounds that expressed how we felt. But music didn't just come from instruments. It came from us. Our ancestors used their hands to clap rhythms. They used their voices to hum and sing. Perhaps they used these sounds to keep away the fear of the dark. Or maybe they sang to celebrate a successful hunt. We don't know for sure, but we know they were just like us. They felt joy, pain, and love. Music was their way of sharing those feelings without needing complicated words. It was a bridge between people. Even back then, music was a way to connect. It was a tool for survival and a gift for the soul. The first drum might have been a hollow log hit with a branch. When that rhythm started, everyone's heart began to beat together. That is the magic of music. It brings us into the same rhythm. It tells us that we are not alone. These early sounds were the beginning of a long, beautiful symphony. A symphony that is still playing today in your headphones and in your heart. As thousands of years passed, humans began to build great cities. We see the rise of powerful empires like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece. In these places, music became even more important. In ancient Egypt, people believed music was a gift from the gods. They played harps and lutes during religious ceremonies. They believed music could help souls travel to the afterlife. Can you see the grand temples? Can you hear the soft sound of strings echoing against the stone walls? Music was everywhere. In the land of Greece, music was not just for fun. It was a part of science and math. Famous thinkers like Plato and Pythagoras studied music carefully. They believed that music could change a person's character. They thought that listening to good music would make you a better, kinder person. They even believed the stars and planets made music as they moved through the sky. The Greeks gave us the word music. It comes from the Muses, who were goddesses of creativity. For them, being an educated person meant you had to understand music. In the great stadiums of Rome, music was loud and exciting. They used brass instruments to celebrate victories in war. It was the pop music of the ancient world. Music was a way to show power. It was a way to bring thousands of people together in one voice. But it was also personal. A mother in Mesopotamia likely sang a lullaby to her baby, just like mothers do today. A worker in a field used a rhythmic song to make the long day feel shorter. We see that music was becoming organized. People began to realize that certain sounds fit together perfectly. They were discovering the rules of harmony. These ancient melodies were the foundation for everything we hear today. They show us that music is a universal language shared by every empire and every culture. We move forward to the Middle Ages. This was a time of great faith and giant stone cathedrals. During this era, music lived inside the church. Imagine walking into a cold, quiet church. Suddenly, you hear voices. There are no instruments, only the sound of many men singing together. This is called Gregorian chant. The melodies are simple and slow. They were designed to help people feel peaceful and closer to God. For a long time, this was the most common music in Europe. But slowly, something changed. Composers started to add more voices. Instead of everyone singing the same note, people sang different notes at the same time. This is called polyphony. It was like a beautiful puzzle made of sound. Then came the Renaissance. This word means rebirth. People became very interested in art, science, and the beauty of the human experience. Music moved out of the church and into the royal courts. Kings and queens hired musicians to play at their dinner parties and dances. The instruments became more modern. We see the early versions of the violin and the guitar. People started to write songs about love, nature, and daily life. This was the time of secular music, music for the world, not just for the church. It was bright, fast, and full of energy. Musicians began to travel from city to city. They shared their songs and learned new styles from other countries. Music was becoming a global conversation. The Renaissance taught us that music could be complex and intelligent, but also fun. It showed that music could express every part of being human. It wasn't just about prayers anymore. It was about the joy of a dance and the sadness of a broken heart. We were learning to tell our own stories through melody. Now, my friends, we enter the time of the great masters. First, we have the Baroque period. Think of this style as very fancy and decorated. Imagine a room filled with gold and giant paintings. The music was just as detailed. This was the time of Johann Sebastian Bach and George Frederick Handel. Bach was a genius who saw music like a perfect math equation. His music was very complex, but it also felt very powerful. He wrote thousands of pieces of music. During this time, the orchestra was born. This is a large group of musicians playing many different instruments together. It was a massive wall of sound. After the Baroque period came the Classical era. This style was different. It was clean, balanced, and very elegant. Think of a beautiful white marble statue. This is the music of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Joseph Haydn. Mozart was a child prodigy. He started writing music when he was only 5 years old. His melodies are famous because they feel so natural and perfect. Then came Ludwig van Beethoven. He was a bridge between two worlds. His music was louder and more emotional than anyone had heard before. Did you know that Beethoven started to lose his hearing? It is a very sad story. Even when he could not hear anything, he continued to write masterpieces. He wrote music from his heart, not just his ears. This changed music forever. It became about a single person's struggle and triumph. The Classical era also gave us the symphony and the opera. Opera is like a movie, but everything is sung. It was full of drama, costumes, and big emotions. Music was now a professional art form. It was performed in big concert halls for hundreds of people. It was a grand celebration of human ability. The world began to change. Machines were being built, and cities were getting crowded. In response, musicians turned to their feelings and to nature. This is the Romantic Age. In this time, rules were not as important as emotions. Composers wanted to make you cry or make you feel like you were walking through a dark forest. Imagine a quiet room where Frédéric Chopin plays his piano. His music is so beautiful and poetic that it feels less like a performance and more like a secret being whispered in your ear. Then there was Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky from Russia. He wrote the music for the Nutcracker and Swan Lake. His music is grand, dramatic, and very colorful. During the Romantic Age, music became like a storybook. We call this program music. The sounds were meant to describe a specific scene, like a storm or a dream. Orchestras became much larger. Composers added more brass and percussion to make the sound even bigger and more exciting. Music was also used to show love for one's country. This is called nationalism. Composers used folk songs from their own lands to create a sense of pride. Everything was about more. More sound, more feeling, and more drama. It was a very intense time for music. You see, music was no longer just about being perfect, like in the classical era. It was about being real. It was about the passion of a hero or the pain of a lost love. The Romantic composers were the rock stars of their time. People would travel for miles to hear them play. They were famous for their big personalities. This era taught us that music is a mirror for our inner selves. It can capture feelings that we cannot put into words. It reminds us that even when the world changes with technology, our hearts stay the same. We still need to feel, and we still need to dream. As we enter the 1900s, the world feels very fast. People are moving across oceans. Cultures are mixing in new ways, especially in America. In the city of New Orleans, a new sound was born: jazz. This was a revolution. Jazz was built on improvisation. This means the musicians would make up the music as they played. They didn't just follow notes on a page, they followed each other. Jazz came from the African American community. It mixed African rhythms with European instruments. It was the sound of freedom and creativity. At the same time, we hear the blues. The blues is about the struggles of life. It's about being tired or poor or having a broken heart. But even though the lyrics were sad, the music made people feel better. It was a way to share pain so it didn't feel so heavy. Then there was folk music. These were the simple songs of the people. They told stories about workers, families, and the history of the land. Folk music used simple instruments like the banjo or the acoustic guitar. It was music that anyone could play on their front porch. These new styles changed how we think about rhythm. The beat became very important. People wanted to move their bodies and dance. The 20th century also brought the invention of the radio and the record player. For the first time in history, you didn't have to go to a concert hall to hear music. You could listen to music in your own home. This made music a part of daily life for everyone, not just the rich. Music was becoming a powerful tool for social change. It was used to speak out against unfairness and to bring different groups of people together. It was a time of loud voices and new ideas. The world was waking up to a brand new rhythm. By the middle of the 20th century, something electric happened. Literally. Musicians started to use electric guitars and amplifiers. This was the birth of rock and roll. Can you imagine the shock people felt? The music was loud, fast, and full of energy. Artists like Elvis Presley, and later the Beatles, became global icons. They weren't just musicians, they were symbols of a new generation. Rock and roll was the voice of young people. It was about breaking rules and having fun. It changed fashion, language, and the way people lived. Then came pop music. Pop is short for popular. These were songs designed to be catchy and easy to remember. This time in history is famous for great artists like Michael Jackson and Madonna. They used music videos and giant dance shows to reach millions of people all over the world. In the 1970s and 80s, technology changed again. Computers and synthesizers allowed people to create sounds that had never existed in nature. Electronic music was born. You could make a whole song in a small room with just a few machines. This made music more democratic. Anyone could be a creator. Music also became more diverse. We saw the rise of hip-hop, which used sampling to create new tracks from old records. It was a new way of storytelling through rhythm and rhyme. Music was now a massive global industry. A song written in a bedroom in London could be a hit in Tokyo the next day. Television and movies used music to make stories feel more powerful. Can you imagine your favorite movie without its theme song? It wouldn't be the same. The Electric Age showed us that music has no limits. It can change as fast as technology changes. But even with all the loud guitars and computer sounds, the goal was the same: to connect with people and make them feel something. And now we are here in the present day. Think about how you listen to music right now. You probably have a smartphone in your pocket. With one click, you can listen to a song from 300 years ago, or a brand new song from a country you have never visited. This is the streaming age. Today, music has no borders. A singer from Korea, K-pop, can be the most famous person in Brazil. We are blending genres like never before. A song might have a classical violin, a heavy hip-hop beat, and a folk melody all at once. We are living in a global symphony. But what about the future? Some people use artificial intelligence to help write songs. New instruments are being invented every year. Will music change? Yes, it always does. But will the reason for music change? I don't think so. As long as there are humans, there will be music. We will always need a way to celebrate when we are happy. We will always need a way to find comfort when we are sad. Music is the heartbeat of humanity. It is the story of our journey from the cold caves of the Stone Age to the bright lights of the modern stage. It is a gift that we give to each other. It is a language that everyone understands, even if they don't speak the same words. So, the next time you put on your headphones, take a deep breath. Remember the bird-bone flute. Remember Mozart and the blues singers. Remember that you are part of this story too. Every time you hum a tune or tap your foot to a beat, you are keeping the history of music alive. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Keep listening, keep singing, and keep dreaming. Until next time, my friends, goodbye.